call is now being recorded.
Anyway, so today there will be a special topic. See, as we are concerning about lift force, I am asking you guys a typical query. That is, how many of you guys have come across the chapter of ideal flow in fluid mechanics? Or is
Sir,
there anybody?
Sir, in the BTech curriculum, it was there, sir.
Yes. That is what I am asking. That is there anybody who has not actually come across this particular ideal flow? Now, can you, anybody of you guys, tell me what ideal flow actually told you?
Sir, inviscid, incompressible, and irrotational flow, sir.
Oh, that is absolutely all right, Chandan. But as I actually pointed out in the previous class also, or in the first class actually, that in case of any engineering syllabus, we do want something which has some application. So why we are studying it at all, that should be clear. So if I ask anybody that, do you guys have any clear idea that why such ideal flow was actually included in the syllabus, why those things has been studied, why those things are included in the subject of fluid mechanics? There are some certain purposes.
Sir, yes, sir. Sir, actually
Yes,
बोलते गए तो
Chandan,
आइडियल बोले तो एक्चुअली आइडियल बोलते तो কোনো ফ্লো নেই এক্সিস্ট করে না তো স্যার কেন কি এই যে
absolutely
অ্যাপ্রক্সিমেশন
so. So
অ্যাজাম্পশন আমরা
ideal
কনসিডার
flow
করছি
actually doesn't exist. Still why we are
ইয়েস স্যার
studying?
স্যার আমরা এটা মানে সেইটা দিয়ে আমরা মানে জাস্ট কম্পেয়ার করতে চাই কি মানে আমাদের যে মেশিন যে প্র্যাকটিক্যাল আমরা যে সিস্টেমটাই ব্যবহার করব ডে টু ডে প্র্যাকটিক্যাল লাইফে তার মানে আমরা এফিসিয়েন্সিটা কিভাবে মানে ম্যাক্সিমাম আমরা অ্যাচিভ করতে পারি মানে লস মিনিমাইজ করতে পারি সিস্টেমতে
Not really, Chandan, not really. Ideal flow, is there anybody who doesn't remember ideal flow at all? There has been two particular things called stream function and velocity potential, isn't it?
Yes sir they exist sir.
Yes. Now question is that there is a very beautiful story behind it, and that was the story I was going to tell you. Actually, Chandan, it wasn't the case that ideal flow allows us to be on the ideal case and to approach the ideal. This is not always correct. But ideal flow actually helps us in some other way.
Sir, actually, sir, I was considering, sir, isentropic flow in machine, sir, on that basis
So
logic, sir.
that is all right. That is from thermodynamics point of view.
Yes, sir.
But
Yes, sir.
ideal flow in case of fluid mechanics point of view, those actually help us in something. I am making you clear. Okay, just 5 minutes. Let me tell you a very beautiful story.
Okay, sir.
In earlier days, actually, fluid mechanics was not a particular part of engineering study. It was a part of a particular science subject. Can anybody predict which science subject it can be?
It was applied mechanics.
Absolutely. So it was a part of mathematics. Applied mechanics is not a science subject, man. It was a part of mathematics. Even if you go to the mathematics department of our university, of Calcutta University, all fluid mechanics books are there. So fluid mechanics at its onset was a subject of mathematics. It was not included in the engineering curriculum at all. Why? Can anybody follow the subject of vector calculus?
Yes, sir. That topic was taught, sir, in
Okay, I
engineering
know that
mathematics, sir.
in your syllabus that topic was taught, but
Yes.
yeah, I am asking the others. Nobody is actually answering at all without Chandan. So
Yes, sir, we
Yes,
did.
sir, it was taught in BTech.
okay, and there has been integration of vectors. There has been differentiations of vectors, right?
Right, sir.
Now you see, wasn't it an idea of you guys? Even myself had an idea that भाई ये सब पढ़ के क्या होगा? What are such vague things? It's very difficult to actually predict ki, what we are actually going to do with all these things. Isn't it? Be honest in your answer. Some curl, some divergence, some integration of cross products, some integration of dot products. Wasn't it a bit tough to predict ki in practical life what are the use of all these things?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So mathematicians, when they actually came across the subject of vector calculus, that with vector everything is a bit tedious. That is at the onset. Okay, you cannot actually sum up two vectors very easily. You have to sum it up considering the direction. Not only you can sum up the magnitude, and also the differentiation, integration, all these things are having certain problems. That you agree, right? That is not very easy like scalars, isn't it?
I did, sir.
Now, mathematicians were actually finding the way how to make common people, or at least the not the every common people, at least the students of this particular subject realize that what is the particular essence of vector calculus in our daily life. And only one thing they found was the subject of fluid mechanics. Believe it or not. Because you know what? These sort of rotational and irrotational things were actually first prescribed by the vector calculus. You know, if curl is 0, then we say that is irrotational space, right? And if curl is there, some value is there, we say that is a rotational space. তাই তো?
हाँ, sir.
Now, why such things are happening in life, in day-to-day life? How can we actually provide the answer? Mathematicians went on searching, and they found at the onset, if I see in the river flow, certain cyclonic things occurs. বাংলায় যাকে আমরা ঘূর্ণি বলি, there are some sort of small cyclonic parts in river flow, isn't it? Where
हाँ, sir.
two different flows actually meet up. There are certain sort of such small cyclonic things occur. That particular picture actually came in the mind of the mathematicians. Hi, this is a rotational space. But two flows which were coming, they were not rotational, but some rotation is being created here. Isn't it? You see the two river flows, those are not rotational, but their interaction actually causes some rotation to occur, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So from this particular perspective, they started thinking that just like the rotational space proposed by the vector calculus, where curl is not zero, they thought there might be an occurrence that here curl of the velocity is not zero, and that is why such rotation is occurring. And actually the scenario is exactly the same. So what happened is that the velocity of fluid actually helped the mathematician to explain the vector calculus, to explain the vector addition, vector subtraction, and all these things. You go back to your physics class, how actually your physics teacher made you realize the vector addition. If somebody is actually enjoying a boat ride in the river, in which direction he should keep the boat so that it actually reaches the exact opposite point of the river when the river is flowing, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you see everywhere the fluid velocity helps us in visualizing the vector. The velocity vector of fluid actually is very helpful to discuss, to visualize, to explain all such things. Got my point?
Yes,
Got,
sir.
sir.
And at the very same time, the researchers of fluid mechanics, they started thinking of different types of flows. But it has been very difficult for them to find out the combination. Why? Now suppose a purely circular flow is combined with a streamlined flow. Suppose the fluid mechanics people are knowing that this particular thing is occurring, but it has been very tough for them to actually find out every possible component of the vector addition to get the new flow.
স্যার এইটা
Are you
ব্যাপারটা
getting
কেন
it?
হচ্ছে এই ম্যাথমেটিক্যাল মডেলিংটা যে কমপ্লেক্স হয়ে যায় তাই জন্য
Yes, because actually you cannot actually put the vector. See, in case of a rotational flow, if you want to have it in sort of vector, okay, Chandan? The
Yes, sir.
direction of the vector is always changing, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So in a very simple vector algebra, can you really add those two velocity vectors and find out the new velocity vector?
It would be
A
tedious
streamlined
job, sir.
flow where the velocity vector is in a direction, very good. In a rotational flow, the velocity vector is ever changing. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So isn't it difficult to make it with simple vector algebra? Can you really join those two vectors and one of which is ever changing direction?
Sir, it would be not possible, sir.
It is very difficult actually, and that time obviously they were not having MATLAB and all these things and all these ideas. So everything had to be hand calculated. So what they thought of was that the mathematicians are having some sort of scalar quantities like velocity potential in case of irrotational flow. See, at the onset, what actually came up, I am trying to show you the thing. At the very onset, what actually came up? what actually came up was that in case of a purely irrotational space, the curl is 0. কি তাই তো রে?
Yes, sir.
for rotational na sir?
Yes, for irrotational space, the curl is obviously 0.
Yes sir.
And for curl is 0, for the particular incompressible and all these particular things, we have del v del x minus del u del y equal to 0. I am showing you, you might not remember till date. From curl equal to 0, what is curl, man? In 2D space, curl mane ki? Anybody can remember?
Sir,
Anybody remember?
sir, cross product of vector v sir na, I ddx plus j of ddy.
Right, I ddx, I del x, you must say.
Yes sir,
I
yes
del
sir.
del x plus j del y, cross product of
ui cap plus vj
plus
cap.
vj, ui plus vj, right? And that actually renders you to del v del x minus del u del y equal to 0. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And the mathematicians at the onset found that, okay, fine, man, if I actually define u equal to del phi del x and v equal to del phi del y, then this particular phi is by default satisfying this particular equation. ভেবে দেখ।
স্যার এই ল্যাপ্লেস ইকুয়েশন বলতে চাইছেন তাই তো?
Right. Exactly so. না আমি দেখাচ্ছি, অনেকে হয়তো বুঝতে পারছে না, অনেকে হয়তো ধরতে পারছে না, হতেই পারে। When curl of a vector field is actually known and when the curl is 0, for the case of, this is shown for the case of 3D, but for the case of 2D, only the last term is there. That is, Vy means your small v, Vx means your small u. So del v del x minus del u del y. That is the only term for curl in case of a 2D. And when there is no rotation in this particular flow, obviously this term is going to be 0. I am showing you, I think it is there afterwards. This particular book is having every sort of mathematics also covered due to the fact that this is actually a, this is a book which is complete by itself, very exhaustive one. Let me find out that particular thing. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to realize this particular fact. কোথায় গেল রে ভাই? এনিওয়ে আমি খুঁজে পাচ্ছি না, একটু ওয়েট কর। কজ আমি মুখে যেটা বলেছি সেটা ঠিক আছে, বাট মেবি somebody is not very comfortable with this particular thing, so it is better to actually show it. And also why I am actually thinking of this, I can directly search it in Google and I will get it very easily. You are getting this particular thing, right? As I am showing you this particular যেটা দরকার হয় তখন সেটা খুঁজে পাওয়া যায় না কেন কি জানি। You see, that was the case. I am providing you this particular thing. সরি, এটা আমার বের করে রাখা উচিত ছিল আগে। But anyway, I am putting this particular thing. What I was meaning is this. This particular thing, del v del x minus del u del y equal to 0. If we put u equal to del phi del x and v equal to del phi del y, will this equation get automatically satisfied? Yes or no? ওরে কেউ একটা বল।
হ্যাঁ স্যার স্যাটিসফাই করবে স্যার, লেফট হ্যান্ড সাইড ইকুয়াল টু রাইট হ্যান্ড সাইড স্যার।
Obviously this will satisfy. Actually this one is actually shown del phi. I don't know why it has shown it in phi. I'm not sure, but actually this was the first proposal from the mathematicians. Okay, bhai, in case of irrotational flow we are going to get a scalar quantity. Suppose in a 2D irrotational flow u and v both are actually defined by certain scalar quantity. You see that if we actually say that the flow field, what is the flow field? V equal to ui plus vj, তাই তো রে?
Sir.
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
Okay, and what we have got? U equal to del phi del x v equal to del phi del y, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So can I say that this particular phi
Right.
is actually defining the flow field totally? Can we really
Yes, sir.
say, or এখনের কথা বাদ দে, right now এর কথা বাদ দে, মানে by that time the people start thinking that by this phi is a very important parameter, because this phi is having its idea about u and v both, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So if phi is having the information of both u and v, it is having the information about the capital V vector.
Yes, sir. Velocity field. Right, sir.
But phi itself is a scalar,
Yes, sir.
isn't it? Now, the fluid mechanics people took this opportunity for predicting the combination of flow. They told that, okay, fine, if we have two certain irrotational flows, we can actually get the phi of them. We can sum them up to get the phi of the new flow. Obviously, it will be done because phi is a scalar. I can simply sum it up. I need not have a vector addition in that particular case. Up to this, is it clear to you? But what was the thinking of the fluid mechanics persons by that time? When they
Yes, sir.
found this particular phi, it was of great help towards them. भाई हाँ मिल गया स्केलर तो मिल गया.
But sir, only magnitude we can predict. But what about direction, sir?
No man, not only magnitude you can predict. If you can find out the new phi, and from the new phi you can obviously go to the new u and v, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And if you know u and v, u is in the horizontal direction and v is in the vertical direction in case of a 2D, obviously.
Obviously, sir.
So you can predict both
Right.
magnitude and direction. Convinced,
Right,
Chandan?
sir. Yes, sir. Sure. Clear, sir.
But one particular thing actually keep them hunting is that if the flow is not irrotational, we cannot prove something irrotational, then we cannot actually use such thing of using this velocity potential, because velocity potential exists only if curl v is 0. Got it?
Got it, sir.
Yes, sir.
So they started finding out a much more familiar equation that will be applicable for any sort of flow. And such a equation is your continuity equation. An incompressible continuity equation comes to be divergence of v equal to 0, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And what this divergence of v equal to 0 actually provides you? That if we keep it in this particular del way, the continuity equation gives you del u del x plus del v del y equal to 0. Right?
Right, sir.
Now they thought that, man, if we can find out such a scalar like phi for this equation also, I can use it for any sort of flow, because continuity equation is applicable for any incompressible flow that need not be irrotational, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Then they came up with the term stream function. Why? if we actually put u equal to del psi del y and v equal to minus of del psi del x, isn't the equation of continuity automatically satisfied? Is that automatically
Right, sir.
satisfied?
Right, sir.
Now this psi is a scalar.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
So just in the same way, if we can find out the psi, that is called the stream function, for any sort of flow, as many flow as there will be in my vicinity, we can have the psi of all them, and the combination of all them can be predicted by only summing up their stream function psi. সবকটা stream function যদি add করে দিই, each and every stream function will be added, and that will provide you the new stream function of the combined flow, isn't it? And the combination
Right,
is
sir.
not very, because it is a scalar. So the ideal flow analysis and the vector calculus analysis actually helped the fluid mechanics guys to carry on with the combination of flow predictions. Okay, that has been the primary importance of this particular thing. Obviously, later it has been seen that psi is actually providing you the streamline, and all these things has been there, but at the onset, it was only an attempt to find out a scalar quantity so that the combination of flow can be predicted very easily. Believe it or not. So, is this story new or old to you?
New, sir.
Sir, very interesting it was, sir.
It was the first journey of fluid mechanics and ideal flow. Now, I know that in my aerodynamics class, many people find this particular story very interesting. That is why I thought that I share it with you. Anyway, so next day, tried to find out some sort of flow patterns which are there by default. And at the onset, they found the uniform flow. The uniform flow means just like our free stream velocity, that flow is flowing in a certain direction, in a horizontal way, so only x directional flow. And all these things, I think, you have come across in your fluid mechanics study. Okay, there is an uniform flow, there is a source flow, there is a sink flow, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Doublet.
So, for each and every particular flow, I am just showing you, trying to show you where these are there. If you find interest, you can go through these particular things. In chapter 3, these flow combinations are actually provided. That for the uniform flow, the velocity, potential, and stream functions both can be found, because that is a purely irrotational flow. This is the second interesting story I am coming up with. the uniform flow, the source flow, the sink flow, when they combine, they actually provide you certain interesting things. I won't go in the details of this particular fluid mechanics, but I will just show you at the onset one interesting thing and how that particular thing has been used in our reality. সবকটা বলবো না, আর একটাই বলবো। Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So for uniform flow, we define the phi and psi with this particular thing. Del phi del x is u, that is your v infinity for this case, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And obviously there is no cross flow, so del phi del y is obviously 0, and from there the equation of psi is found. Okay, fine, I am not going in the details of this. And also if we want, we can find out the equation of psi as well. That you are convinced now, that obviously I can find out. If I know del psi del y, del psi del x, I can go to psi from this particular thing, isn't it? That is simple integration, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So the uniform flow, for uniform flow, this is there. For source and sink, I am not going the details of source and sink, that those are very much clear. From a point in every radial direction, the flow is being emerged, and for sink, from every radial direction, those are directed towards a certain point, just the opposite of source. And for these also we get my particular phi and psi, but as these are in r and theta direction, so phi and psi will be functions of r and theta. At that time this was x and y, and here it is function of r. Phi is also function of r, and if we find out psi, that is a function of theta, because that is given in r theta direction. That is not an issue, that can be done. Obviously, as you have come across with the Bachelor of Engineering, you know that r theta and xy coordinates can be interchangeable very easily. Now if we come to the combination, we get the new psi very easily. I told you that bhai directly sum up kar do, ho jayega, koi dikkat nahi. Only in case of v infinity into y, instead of y we have written r sin theta. You know that in case of r theta direction, x equal to r cos theta, y equal to r sin theta. তাই তো হয় রে নাকি?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sir. Polar coordinate information.
Yes. So in polar coordinate I get the psi in this way. So from psi I have to go back to v theta and vr, isn't it? কি হবে তো?
Yeah, sir.
So if we go back to vr and v theta, we get a flow field like this. খুব ভালো কথা, no problem. And if we actually think ke bhai ye kaise hua, now you see this was coming in this direction and the source flow is coming in all directions, right? So the one in the left direction, exactly left direction, will actually cause this particular flow to stop, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So at this point there is a stagnation, and then these are actually in the cross direction, so this cross direction will make these sort of things.
স্যার বলছিলাম,
বলো।
স্যার এই যে বলছেন মানে দুটো ইকুয়াল অপোজিট ডাইরেকশন আছে, সে তো স্যার নিউট্রাল হয়ে যাবে, বাট স্যার আর তার অপোজিট ডাইরেকশনে তো একটা অ্যারো শো করছে, তো
এদিকের অ্যারোটা যেটা শো করছে,
হ্যাঁ
এদিকের অ্যারোটা যেটা শো করছে, এটা তো ডাইরেক্টলি একে ইন্টারঅ্যাক্ট করছে না, তাই না? Only these arrow will make the single thing in a স্ট্যান্ড স্টিল। দেখ একটাই মাত্র স্ট্রিমলাইনকে কিন্তু স্ট্যান্ড স্টিল করেছে, বাকিগুলো কিন্তু চলেছে, বাট দে আর ডেভিয়েটেড, they have been deviated a bit due to this particular process, তাই না? Got my point, চন্দন?
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
So how this particular thing looked like? এইটুকু বলে আজকের মতো আর কিছু বলছি না, এটা তো গল্পই করছি, কোনো ব্যাপার না, আর একদিন গল্পটা চালানো যাবে সুন্দর, কিন্তু সেদিনে আরো কিছু ইন্টারেস্টিং থিং উঠে আসবে। আর আমি তোকে একটাই জাস্ট for a simple thing I am telling you a thing that see all these particular things, all these things, these are having no relation, virtually no relation with fluid mechanics, isn't it? These are typically mathematical. Everything has been done, finding out psi, finding out phi, finding out the combination. Everything has been done in the place of mathematics using integration, differentiation, addition, subtraction, and all these things, isn't it? Can you find out any fluid mechanics out of it?
No sir, totally mathematical sir.
Yes, only fluid mechanics is there that find these particular flow patterns has been taken from the fluid mechanics. Nothing else has been taken from the fluid mechanics, right?
Right sir.
But when they came up with this particular combination of flow, that particular combination came exactly from mathematics, everything from mathematics. But the fluid mechanics people have been very much benefited from this particular thing. They told, Hari, I have got a point. Well, what point you have got, man? Now you see how this pattern is looking like. The pattern has been provided by mathematics, purely mathematics. But pattern is looking like a river flow getting diverted by the presence of a particular island inside the river, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Depending upon the soil structure and all these things of this particular island, obviously the shape of the island will depend. কি তাই তো করবে নাকি?
Yes, sir.
Now that particular strength of the soil and all these things can be compared to the strength of this particular source, that how much resistance it is actually providing to the uniform stream, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So see, a purely mathematical idea that came up with an idea of fluid mechanics who can actually predict the river flow getting diverted with this particular idea. Do you got my point?
Yes, sir.
স্যার আরেকবার রিপিট করুন।
আমি বললাম যেটা চন্দন, সেটা হচ্ছে যে this particular thing, the equation came everything with the form of mathematics, but it came up with an idea, it came up with a pattern that is actually resembling the pattern of river flow when an island is inside the river.
স্যার বোঝা গেছে।
Then the fluid mechanics people starts asking the mathematicians, भाई समझ गया, हाँ हो गया, चलो अभी बोलो, if the island is there inside the river flow again gets converged, তাই না?
Yes, sir.
It is getting diverged, but when the island is there it will again get converged, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
How to predict it, mathematicians? Mr. Mathematicians, give us idea, it's very interesting, give us idea. Mr. Mathematicians thought, okay, bhai, if a source actually diverges Then to converge, what should I have?
Sir, a sink.
A sink. That is very easy, isn't it? So they thought, okay, bhai, let us have another sink over there. No problem. They put a sink over there. And what happened? If we put a sink over there, then the total flow pattern will be like this. Up to this was for the source, and a sink is there of the equal strength, and a minus gamma by 2 pi theta 2 has come. তাই তো আসবে তো নাকি?
Yes, sir.
हाँ sir.
And the flow pattern looked like this. And the mathematicians told the fluid mechanics people, now bhai, your flow totally across the island is predicted here. And Mr. Rankin actually came up with this idea. That is why this particular oval shape is called a Rankin oval.
স্যার এই ফ্লোটাকে কি ডাবলেট ফ্লো বলা হয়?
না, এটাকে ডাবলেট বলা হয় না। আসবো ডাবলেট, সামনের দিন আসবো, এখানে আজকে আসবো না। বাট ইউ থিঙ্ক অ্যাবাউট ইট ভাই। হাউ মেনি অফ ইউ, অল অফ ইউ আই থিঙ্ক হ্যাভ come across the Howrah Bridge?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
How is it? Is there any pillar in between the river?
No, sir.
No sir.
That is a hanging bridge, right?
Yes sir. Whole load is taken care sir. Upper steel structure sir. Truss
Exactly.
structure.
Exactly so. You see that for rivers, it was customary once upon a time to find out of these hanging bridges, because it was not known to many persons कि भाई पिलर कैसे बनाना है, रिवर के अंदर पिलर, how to get these particular pillars done. Will they actually be permanently stable, or the river will make this very much unstable system?
স্যার ওই বলতে চাইছেন মানে
Yes,
রিভার
what should be the shape of the pillar, and how the river flow is going to be diverged from this particular thing. Those particular thing was not having any idea before the development of fluid mechanics. Was the river flow is perspective of fluid mechanics totally. But after the Rankine oval, it is proved that a river flow is uniform flow, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So the uniform flow, in place of these two sort of source and sink like things, can be diverted in this way, and it will again get converged, and it will move freely without many problems. Think about any sort of river bridges you have come across. The pillars are of oval shaped, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
But this Rankine oval had been one of the idea of those sort of pillars. And you know what? It came from the idea of ideal flow analysis. Got it, man?
Yes, sir.
Chandan's question will be answered in the next class, okay? See, up to this, I have not come across anything about aerodynamics or flight dynamics, but obviously in the next class, I will be having something.
স্যার বল স্যার
Bolo, sir.
স্যার বলছিলাম মানে এই যে বললেন রিভার ব্রিজ যে আইডিয়াটা তো এই র্যাঙ্কিং ওভাল দিয়ে সেটা দিয়ে আমরা কি করে কনক্লুড করব স্যার সেই কি কিভাবে সিমিলারিটি থাকছে সেটা বুঝলাম না
We are not going to conclude it, but it actually came up with an idea that these things can be done. Next, the soil testing, the particular things, all the things, the construction techniques will be there. But it will be some sort of oval shaped, and that will be depending on how much is the V infinity, or for river we do not say V infinity, what is the river velocity. Depending on the V infinity, this particular oval shape will be changed, yes or no?
yes sir
So the particular pillar structure for a bridge in Rishikesh won't be equal to a particular pillar structure of a bridge in Kolkata. And those particular things can be predicted using such fluid mechanics primarily. Got it, Chandan?
yes sir
See, the source and sink, they are nothing but your cement strength and the soil strength and all these things, okay? And V infinity is the river velocity. Got it?
Yes, sir.
got
Okay. I'm not asking anybody realized or not, because these are typically stories behind it. Everything has stories behind it, okay? There is nothing written about it. These are all stories, but very predictable stories. Okay, these are the history of fluid mechanics, the subject of fluid mechanics, the corresponding engineering development and all these things. Okay. And next sort of things I will carry on in the next class, where you may find out some more interesting stories. But up to this, please remember, up to the ranking oval, okay? Chandan's question will be answered in the next class also. What is a doublet? Okay, so let us end today.
okay sir
Yes, sir.
thank you sir